Hey guys, it's me again, Orkster. What us? Where I last left off is, let's see, Bell and his troops have recently just been, well, they just had a semi-major battle with enough, they just took a major stronghold. The Crimson Marauders are coming for Deku and his group. The mages are in fear of Deku. Gary and his forces are trying to make sure Deku doesn't die. Well, especially, but pretty much only Gary is. And he's trying to send troops Deku's way, because he's theorized that with all this Crimson Marauder activity that has just gone dead silence, he suspects they're sending every single one of them to go and kill Deku. Now let's set up this battle. Let's see. Deku has this 6,300 and 6,000. I remember I had this done. 6,320. I believe that is the answer. 3,600. Yeah, 6,320. And the Marauders have their also. Never mind. The Crimson Marauders have, let's say, like 5,000 of their own Marauders. They have 2 Adolescent Drakes and about 1,000 or so ghouls, mostly containing up flying and beta ghouls. And later on they'll have 1,000 of reinforcements. 1,000 reinforcements of the remaining not Marauders, but tribesmen that Bell had utterly dismantled. So as Deku's forces Bell's banners are high up on this like fortress. It's essentially a fortress now. Their fortress is high and up. They're ready to intercept any attack. Bell has archers upon archers ready. Their scouts and sentries have said they have reported movement and such, and large movement at that. These scouts are far off, and they actually have... Well, I was trying to think, would it make sense for them to have eagles and such? I'll say they actually have arrows and such, like they point up and just let them loose, and arrows can travel for hundreds of yards away. So they just send arrow after arrow. Just like... Since arrows are really hard to notice, and birds and such would be just gobbled up by flying ghouls, is my guess. The arrows are just flying and keep constantly landing. Dang it. And eventually the news reaches Bell. A large force of troops are heading our way. Special banners include... The special banners are 2 axes that are bleeding, like seeped with blood. Bell suspects these are probably the elite troops known as the Crimson Marauders. Immediately, Bell's like, "Get everyone ready! Go! Go!" As Bell sets up his personal bodyguard, with the others, like, doing their thing. Like, each of his squad has, like, special troops, or their own special squad. Like, Aaron has the Lion's Guard. I think that makes sense. The Lion Guard, or the King's Guard, or whatever, the Lion's Guard. Then there's the Bear. His special thing is known as the Iron Claws. With the Red Angel has his... Not the Red Angel, Loken, the Blood Angel, having his personal Nephilim, which are in mythology and such. Jewish mythology, as far as I know, are the descendants of the angels and such. Like, they are the... Like, what happens when you get an angel and a human together, that's what they make. And apparently it's said that they're usually killed off by some champion of God for some reason. Never understood why. Like, it's probably... I heard it was unnatural, but anyway... They're referred to as the Nephilim because they are very powerful, but they're not as powerful as the angel. Then there's the Lunar Wolf. Yeah, Lunar Wolf. And his special thing are known as the the wolf's teeth, or the wolf's claws. Just very generic stuff for their bodyguards. But Deku even has his personal thing, which is made up of 50 warhounds. Each of theirs is made up of a group of warhounds. But Bells are a special group, especially a ferocious group known as the Rabbit Hounds. They fall right under Bell's personal bodyguard, and every time he's charging into battle, they are right behind him. They're and how they will be is that they are described as the most feral of all the warhounds. They give into their berserker rage more greatly than anyone else, being able to take arrows and axes into their arms and such, and just keep on trucking. Sorry. And they do not attack Bell. Their fury, they'll attack when they go into their berserker rage. They attack anyone and everything, except for Bell. Because even in their berserker state, that mind where they're completely insane and just want blood, if they see Bell in their sights, they look the other way. Because to them, Bell is an entirely different class of berserker. When he rages, he is a force of nature. And one of the few that have attacked him, he's instantly just swung his axe and they've been cut in half. Faster than they even raised up theirs. Bell is the greatest berserker. He is the warhound. And as they as Bell's commanding his troops, all of them are ready to go. They have their fortress manned and ready. They get stuff going. First will come the flying ones. As that happens, Bell's forces and such, like the flying ghouls, are just instantly destroyed by Bell's archers. Just volley after volley, and they still have 1,000 archers actually, and they're just taking down very quickly the 1,000 flying ghoul that were coming at them are just dead in a pile on the ground before they even reach them. Now comes for the ghouls, for the Crimson Marauders and everything else. The chieftain is the one that rolls up. And his armor is entirely made out of, his entire thing is it's a giant ghoul pelt, sort of. They are just decked head to toe in drake, their pelts and such are just ghoul and drake pelts. On the right arm, it's a drake head, or drake thing. On his left arm, it's a ghoul thing. And he's decked head to toe in heavy armor, just like Bell is. And I'm pretty sure I said he uses a giant hammer. Is his choice of weapon. As he gets to the thing, his hammer's slung over his shoulder with his Crimson Marauders. As the army's standing right there, ready to go toe to toe with Bell, Bell walks over to the ramparts and looks down on the chieftain for the Crimson Marauders. The Crimson Marauders, his chieftain's saying once he sees Bell, and some of the descriptions that he's gotten were over exaggerated. They say Bell was a demon that's 10 feet tall and is made out of pure fire and blood, while others say he's a giant man made out of pure metal that crashes through your enemy lines, and that the warhounds are just that. They are men mixed with hounds and prepped for war. He's thinking about all these things. But when he gets there, he just sees him as a giant of a man with a giant spiked helm. He sees like where the stories were exaggerated of Bell. And Bell can see the stories where it's been exaggerated of the chieftain. The stories Bell have heard from like some of the messengers and such, that the chieftain was a monster himself. That he was half dragon, half ghoul. And that he breathed fire and flew into the sky. Bell can see where those things came from. As Bell brings up his giant axe, just like stamping it on the ground, like goosh, dush, and then several other troops start like banging their things, and eventually the entire force just goosh, 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 goosh. As that like final little thing, the chieftain starts screaming at the fort, saying, "I heard you can take on thousands of the normal weakling tribesmen. Let's see how you do against the marauders. I've been fighting since I was a boy. You see this on my right shoulder? I killed him when I was 14. It's a right in our traditions. And look at that, you have the same thing. When did you kill him? When you were a man?" And I'll say this chieftain's like older than Bell by a lot. He's like 38 and Bell's like 19 or 20s, like I said. So he's good, a couple of decades ahead of Bell. As he's like saying this, and he turns back to his men, "We shall tame these owls and slaughter them like the beasts they are." And as they say that, as he says that, "Bring forth the drakes!" As the drakes come crashing through the wilderness, the chieftain sees Bell as he leans in closer, but isn't out concerned. It's out of somewhat a twisted joy. Because Bell, like I've said, does enjoy a good fight. Drakes are some of the greatest things that bring him the greatest of fights. So as this thing just comes strolling out of the woodworks, Bell literally not even jumps down, he tells the archers to start firing on the army. As that happens, thousands of troops, like the dragons are actually like war beasts. They have like straps, they're like the Mumakil or whatever from Lord of the Rings. As they come charging, there's like soldiers on their backs firing arrows. Bell's forces and such just drive them away and such. The drakes and such come like crashing into the walls, but like I said, the walls are heavily fortified. So the best they can do is like just smash their heads against it and such. It's like on a nice little mountain, like semi-mountain. So as they stand there, the drakes just ram into it. Some of them peek their heads over, but when that happens, a bunch of spearmen such just stab into the drakes like underjaw. As that continues to happen, several soldiers are able to get their ladders and such up and rope. As the Crimson Marauders come jumping over the wall, they're giants, like giant men, just as the Warhounds are. Bell immediately decided to go down there to get into the thick of it. He's taking his rabid hounds and such, and looking for an area that's cleared to unleash them. As the rabid hounds are already like getting into it, some of them are still like, "Come, let's go spill blood!" As they like all go charging in, Bell leading them. He charging with his axe, taking out like 6 of those Crimson Marauders. Like he comes screaming from the fort, not screaming from the fort. He lets out his war cry, "Hear our howl, know our fury!" As they repeat it across the entire fort. "Hear our howl, know our fury!" As several of these cries are heard out, as the Crimson Marauders are sort of have come to a thing with their own. "Remember us as we draw your blood!" As they all say that, "Remember us as we draw your blood."
as they like come clashing. It's too savage, and Aisha and her troops are like being held back because Belle has deliberately held them back so that way the Warhouse can get some fun in before they have to actually get this serious. But Belle has come to realize very quickly that these soldiers are on par with the Warhounds. When they come crashing in, it's much like when they first came to fight the ghouls. It's not more or less an entire wall of them shoving them back. They're actually pushing and able to overpower some of them. Several of the rabid hounds immediately just launch forward, cutting through the forces, while other ones are like impaled on swords and spears and their faces caved in by hammers. While on the other end of the walls and such, the Cassius, Lucius, Loken, and Aaron are all having similar fights. They're all just like, it's more or less like a proper fight. Aaron like tossing some guys over, with Cassius like overpowering most of them and just tearing them to shreds. Lucius using his masterful swordsman skills to tear them to like just kill them very proficiently. And then there's finally I forget his name, Loken, and him bleeding and throwing great swathes of blood all over. His Nephilim doing their work. They mainly don't rely on sawtooth swords and such. They actually rely on hammers, being like brute force, where their master or commander is more or less bleeding and such. They prefer to just smash. With the Iron Bear, his forces are very similar armed, except these are like gauntleted blades as well. Like they have brass knuckles, spiked knuckles, claws, gauntlet blades. And Lucius, his forces are actually very similar to his, taking a specialty when it comes to like special weapons like glaives, giant scimitars, and other things. While Aaron's like axemen, I forget what I called Aaron's forces. The Lion's Guard, they use like spears and such, like tower shields and spear. Actually, the tower shields and like tridents. Each force is cutting straight, like is having a brutal melee. Deku tells Aisha and her troops to like just push back the walls and such and keep them off them. Chieftain like standing in the back but can't and unable to contain himself, he actually charges forward as well. The mages are throwing fireballs and such at the drakes and such to try and get them off. Aisha and her group, like the earthquake one can't really do anything, so she's in the fray as well. And several of Aisha's sisters and such, like her battle sisters or just the Amazons, have actually been cut down. Several of the marauders impaling them, slicing them to shreds, and etc. and etc. The mage up top is just throwing lightning strikes at drakes and such. And she has like a bodyguard of Belle's, like the wizard's guard. Because Belle has recognized that the wizards and such are a crucial role to his the successfulness of each battle. Is that the wizards are keen, that they can turn a tide of battle just like that. And he usually employs them very early on, so that way they can be used. But since they're in a camp full of wood and such, he's waiting them so that way when they throw a fireball, it doesn't have a chance of setting the walls on fire. And plus, their like fire is not really that useful against drakes, so they've just been held back in a defensive position. As the chieftain and such is rushing to the walls, his battering ram, like he had a battering ram, they've just busted open the doors. The spearmen and such charging forward, impaling tribesmen, with tribesmen doing the very much same thing to other lines. The chieftain using his giant hammer and just smashing away swaths of troops. Like, smashing one guy into the ground, smashing another into the wall, and then picking up one, just snapping his neck. And even at one point picking one up and breaking him on his knee. He's making his way up with several. The fight is spread out throughout the walls. Belle and the Rabid Hounds, he had like 50, I'm pretty sure I said. By this point, they've taken over like a couple hundred marauders, but they've gone down to like 25. They have only 25 now. I'll say they've taken over like 400 troops, and now they've been brought down to 25. Bell sort of realizing that, keep fighting, let's kill them all, as he actually even at one point jumps on and gets a drake jumping on its snout and just slicing everybody off the war mount, as they would call it, the war mount, slicing everybody off and killing the driver and such. He actually, instead of taking over the drake, killing it, deciding that it's best to get rid of it now. As he slices with his one axe, he just chops, and then eventually just falls over. He dropping off. The rabid hounds and such have been forced into a situation. They're lashing out like wild beasts, and they're entirely surrounded by enemies, rapidly being depleted though. And as they keep on fighting, they just keep on saying, "No, your fury." They're actually even messing up the entire thing. And they are completely lost to their bloodlust. Bell being dropped down to the second story, as those soldiers and such are trying to push back the tide of men and such. Deku rushes forward with his axe. As a spearman let him through, he just smashes through the marauders and just cutting them down. His forces have taken a beating, but so have the other ones. The other Drake is still sieging, helping the forces and such, being a mobile mount, not a mobile artillery thing essentially. Except it's just a bunch of arrows and such, not actual cannons. As Bell and his forces, just the remaining spearmen and such that are with Bell, they end up just taking down hundreds by themselves and such. And Eren and their groups are taking down hundreds as well. At this point, within since they are actually relatively equal, their forces, this has been going on for about an hour. They have lost around 1,000 troops, but the Crimson Marauders have lost about 150. So right now they're up, as the Crimson Marauders and such are just slogging on, constantly back and forth. One soldier, some of the soldiers are going on pure rampages. The Iron Bear, or the Iron Claws, and the Lunar, and the Wolf's Fangs and such, they're all constantly just ripping and tearing into every single enemy that presents itself. Several of the Warhounds right now have gone into a berserker rage, just slicing down, taking down at least dozens of troops by themselves. That's just that's only a Warhound. These specialty troops are with Bell's commanders and such. They are the ones that are getting, each of their soldiers are getting about almost 100 kills by themselves. But then again, the same thing's happening for the Crimson Marauders. Their forces are tearing into each and every single one of them and such. So as that's happening, Bell finally gets to a point where, as they're killing their way up, he finally sees the chieftain. As Bell and the chieftain lock eyes, Bell just starts shoving the men out of the way, just shoving everyone get out of my way, as he lets out a cry, "Hear my howl, know my fury," as the Crimson Marauder chieftain says, "Remember me as I make you bleed," as they come clashing, the Great Axe and the Great Warhammer clashing, and there's a shake, everyone as they stop for a second, just acknowledging this fight. As the warriors come and they clash weapons, there's a shake, as it shakes the ground. Some think it's the Drake or whatever. Then Bell gets right into it, just starts fighting the chieftain. This chieftain's pretty good. But as like the warriors finally get in, Bell like gets separated at one point from the chieftain. After like going at each other for like 10 minutes, they get separated as Bell's like troops are pushed back. So he breaks off the engagement to go and assist them. At this point, the rabid hounds have been brought down to 15 troops. But they've killed like over 3 more than just like another couple hundred. They've cleared themselves out as they're trying to reunite with their master and such. So at this point, the Marauder, the Crimson, the Warhounds, I think I said 4,000. Scratch that, they were down at 5,000. Now the Warhounds are down to like 4,900, with the Crimson Marauders being down at a total of 3,000. The Marauders are not... They have experience fighting monsters and such, and so in a way, they are like ferocious as monsters, but they forget pit fighters fight monsters day in, day out, every single day. So as Bell and their forces are slowly but surely just killing them all, Aisha's sisters and such, like her like sisters, I will just refer to them as that. They have been brought down to a total of 500. But they are taking just as many. They have taken way more than just 100 troops from the Crimson Marauders. Aisha, realizing how costly this is, and they are actually getting paid relatively good money and such to be here, such, and they've gotten the, as they would say, an honor in a way to like fight side by side to some of the fiercest warriors that will probably ever be known to history that are not adventurers and such. So as they cut through, eventually as the Crimson Chieftain is able to get higher up, he comes across Loken, the Blood Angel. As this happens, he sees the like red wings and such that are draped over his like back, and he remembers the story, remembers that that's one of Bell's commanders. So he rushes forward, crushing through the Red Angel's Nephilim like they're nothing, and comes face to face with them. The Nephilim comes in, like several Nephilim come rushing at him, he crushes through them. Blood Angel! Your master, the Warhound, will miss you! You will die! As he's like coming crashing at him, the Blood Angel lets out his roar. You are hell! No more fury! And again, it's the whole, remember us as we bleed you. They come clashing. Loken is severely outmatched. This chieftain gives Bell like a nice little even thing. He's fighting him, and eventually, like after a prolonged battle, the Loken is able to get stabs and then slices and such, like slicing and dicing, causing him to bleed. But the Crimson Chieftain grabs his, when he like goes for a stab, Crimson Chieftain grabs his hand as he like stabs forward and breaks it. Like uses his hammer and snaps the arm. As he screams, he like goes and tries to stab him with his second sword. And then just like smashes his hand down into you know how wood forts are and there's like spikes on the wood? That's how he does it. He like stabs into the spike. He's like, "Ah!" As he's down on like on his knees and such. Deku's the bear Cassius sees this, as he's like, Loken and Cassius are like kind of nice friends. So actually all of them see this, Deku's like looking, and the Crimson, Lunar, and the King of Lions are all watching him as he like looks around, sees all of them. It's like a slow motion scene. He's like, Die, angel. as he brings the hammer down, crushing the head. It's just like a watermelon, causing a spray of blood to go everywhere. Bell screams as they all see this, even the remaining Nephilim, every single warhound that sees this, because Loken was a pretty nice guy, he just had his personal way of fighting. As they all see this, they're all drawn into a berserker rage that even goes beyond what the rabid hounds are. As they come rushing in, Bell is literally tearing people in half, trying to reach to him. The bear, Cassius the bear, is quite literally rips out a guy's spine and head, and he's like, "I'm gonna use this to strangle you." As all of them are rushing for the chance to get to the Crimson Chieftain, he realizes this is his final stand, and that his troops are overwhelmed. They are being slaughtered. At this point, Bell's number is down to like 440. The Crimson Chieftain's being down to less than 100. So as he's ready, he charges for the first one appearing, which is the bear. He grabs that, since his strength is matched by Bell's, and this guy's pretty equal to Bell. As that hammer comes swinging, the bear just grabs it and brings it away from him. He's slicing him in the face with his claws. And then after that, Lucius comes in and stabs him, like cuts him in the leg, calling him to fall one knee. As he comes down trying to grab a sword, Lucius swings his axe and cuts off the hand. As he stands there defeated, Bell stands over him. He's like, you will pay. As he lets out a roar, "No, Fury!" As he comes swinging down, he's like, "This was a good fight." As he comes swinging the axe down, cleaving him straight in two. The Warhounds will have to be pulled back after this. They may have lost only a round. They lost a lot for a single combatant and such. Their troops are severely injured and weakened. They'll have no choice but to evacuate the area. As they all recognize this, they take a moment to mourn their friends, then Bell gets everyone to work. "We can't retrieve all the bodies. Give them warrior graves. Take everything we can." At this point, the commander of the Drake and such has recognized this, as that it's probably a good time to slip away, that they wouldn't want to waste another thing just for a failed thing. So as they evacuate the remaining Drake, the remaining marauders, that the 100 marauders or so that have been able to escape, they gather all their resources, their banners, and they even set a torch to the fort to ensure that it doesn't fall into enemies' hands. As Bell pays his final they ensure all of them understand they can't take everyone's body, but a lot of them make sure that the Blood Angel's body is taken, and his two swords. As they take it, as they're transporting the bodies, the Amazonians can't bring all their sisters back and such, so there's just a bunch of warrior graves and such. As the fire mages say, "For our brothers and sisters." The fire mages and such are free, but they see themselves as brothers and sisters to Bell's warhounds and such. So as they come into a full-on retreat, the mages and such may have lost one of their most powerful allies and such, or powerful pieces, but they count this as a victory in some odd way, that they've gotten more tribes and such flock to their banner. Once several tribes also look for strong warriors, and when they heard that the Crimson Marauders chieftain and his tribe were pretty much slaughtered by enemy forces, they're like, "Oh, we gotta find out who that is and fight them." So as they're coming to this, several tribes have flocked to their banner, ready to come and kill them. as Bell and their forces have retreated back to safety lines. As they come to, and as Gary and them have heard reports, they come to intercept them. Bell's forces are battered and bloody, and there's actually only 5 rabid hounds left. The Lion's Guard down to 3. The Steel Claws are down to 10, and Lucius or the Luna or the Wolves Fangs and such are down to 1 member. They've taken serious damage, and it will take them time to recover. This has taken over the course of a year or so, if I remember correctly. And a lot of these were close friends to every single gladiator there. They want to stay and fight, but Bell has made it clear that they are in no shape to do so. So as they return to friendly lines, Bell and the forces are just walking. The Amazonians kind of coming to this thing that they can't stay here. That after a battle like that, they've lost more than they were anticipating. Period. That if they lose any more, that Ishtar may kill them. So as it's 4 months later, Bell and them have been retreated back to Gary's capital and such. As they are coming back with their banners hanging high in the sky, Margaret's even there. Margaret made it through the fighting and such, so yeah, you don't have to worry about her. She stayed back to because Gary ordered her, because she needed to take up a defensive front and such. So as they're as they have transported themselves back to the capital of Gary's place, as they are coming, they're they've been putting up propaganda since the Queen saw this chance, even even slaves can make a difference. Join the army and help us defend our home and such. That sort of propaganda. As the Warhounds banners are flying high in the sky, as they're hey, the Warhounds are here. Gary's wife and daughter, I forgot if I gave the daughter name, I'm sorry, have come marching out and see the whole thing. Several of the workers and even Bell's family and such have come to see him. Bell's at the front of the army. His armor is deeply gored. His armor is not in the best shape. They've just been marching for a day. They've been marching for they got there and they were got there at night. They took a little bit of rest and just started marching in the morning. As they marched and marched, as they came to the capital, they just saw the army. They didn't see it as big as it was, but they can tell that even their banners and such have been torn up, burned, and everything. Several warriors are even still have wounds and such as they march forward. Some of them have lost limbs as they see the warriors coming. Some of them are limping. Some of them have things over their eyes and such as they come marching. They're all just drained from that good battle. Bell kind of regrets this, that this battle may have been filled with fantastic warriors, but he lost so many of his brothers and sisters. And he's come to realize that he shouldn't be wanting more and easy and better fights. Some of his warriors may want them, but it won't keep him alive any longer. So as he sits down, and several of the servants and such from the city and such come rushing in, to assist Bell and their workers, by getting them healed up, getting them food and all that. Bell says, we have plenty of food. We just need medicine and such. That says Aisha and them are also getting treated. Even at one point, Aisha sees Bell, and then Integra and his family come running. She's about to go say hi to Bell and such, but then she sees something. Integra's Bell, Warhound. As she comes rushing at him, he stands up, and she comes rushing and giving him a hug, and he embracing her. This giant of a man embracing this little woman, as he's taking off his helmet and everything. his white hair flowing in the wind, with his deep crimson red eyes and everything. It's from a movie. As he's like saying hi to his family and everything, he's like, I wanted to introduce you to somebody. One of the mercenaries. I think you all like her. I think you all like her. As he's like, Aisha, come over. This is Integra, my sisters, and my mother. As he all introduces each of them, he's like, wow. As they all like say Aisha's very pretty and such. And she says, Belle, since she's free of the whole thing, but some of them, they've all are referring to him as Warhound. I just say Belle. They're like, Warhound here is one of the greatest warriors I've ever seen. They're like, yes. I saw him he got 1,200 people during one battle. As they see his weapons, he's like laid them out. He's been like taking care of them, but since like of these battles, they've like gotten a bit damaged. As they see his axes, several of all three of these axes are in pretty tough shape, and there's a permanent red thing along some of the blades and such. The chains are kind of red, like bloody rusted, and they see the gores on his armor and such, and they see they just see that he's been through the worst of it. And some of them ask, hey, like, how's your student and such, is what his mother asked. He's like, they're all fine except Loken. He died in the last battle. As some of them actually, they all knew Loken, and for them Loken was just like a big brother as well, like Belle. Like Loken and the others see Belle's family as their own family, and vice versa. They've all come to accept as Belle as like this like glue that's held them together and such. And that it's all because of Belle that they've all technically lived this long. It's because of Belle's training that they survived the pit. It's because Belle is Gary's favorite champion and such that they've been able to stay together as a family. They've all come to realize this. And as we're about to hold a ceremony for him, as Loken's body is wrapped up, his swords are enshrined in like this gladiator hall of fame or whatever that's there. It's like held up there, and like his helmet and such, which is like a enclosed helmet with angel wings and such engraved on it. As Belle gives a word, he's like, he was my pupil, my student, and my brother. He was your commander and brother. We can all say we are all grieved for him. But do not forget, he died on the battlefield with honor, and his death has been avenged. Our brothers and sisters have been avenged this day. We took thousands of them. We took 3 times the number we lost, and then some. We are not out of this war. We won't be for a while. We'll get more men and probably be sent to the front lines again. But the enemy's been dealt a massive blow. And as they're all saying, true, true. As they all take the night, Belle spends the time with his family and such, with Integra and such. The wife and daughter don't do anything, they just stay there in their castle. And when it comes time, like Aisha and them like report that they're gonna leave. But as they're trying to leave, Belle tells them to stop. And Belle has been planning on doing this since they fought in like I said, they fought in several smaller battles, then there were the major battles and such, and they've been fighting together for like over a year. I believe so. So as like Belle tells like the 500 remaining, 590, not 499 actually, as they're all like told to like stand there. As they're all standing there, several like like 400 warriors and like just a lot of warriors and such come marching over to them, and they all have their eyes closed as the cloaks and such and the weapons are given to them. They are also given their own personalized version of Bel's banner and such. It's decorated and such, and they're all given weapons and such that represent them. Bel's like, you may not have been the pit fighters, you may have not been slaves, but you were warhounds. Let that be known, Aisha. And as he would say instead of just Aisha, he's like, let that be known, sisters. Any who fight again with the warhounds, may you be included in part of my family. You are my sisters, as we are your brothers in arms. Go forth now. Tell the world, and remember, spread our name. Don't spread our name, it's just like, remember us, as we shall never forget you. As they all like, it's been a pleasure, warhounds. May the gods favor you in this war. As Aisha and Bel, or the warhound, as Bel would say, like do that like whole warrior grasp arm thing too. And that's a nice note to end it off with. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all have a nice day, nice night, nice life.